welcome to Talking Bottom. I'm Paul Tanter.
I'm Ange Pearson.
And I'm Matt Brooks.
And we're continuing our series talking about Rik Mayall's most iconic characters. This week, we're talking about Flashheart, or more specifically, the characters that Rik played in the Blackadder universe. Many people will know that, of course, he played Mad Gerald in the first series, but it's Lord Flashheart who cropped up in Series 2 and Series 4 that most people remember him for. And, of course, the sort of spin-off characters from this, where he played Robin Hood in Blackadder Back and Forth, and later on cropping up in the Bombardier adverts. All of these were very similar Flashheart characters.
I never made that connection. That's great.
Really?
Yeah, he is
You
very
didn't?
much.
The
No.
Bombardier,
No, I didn't,
it's
yeah.
absolutely the same sort of like centre core of bombasticness, isn't it?
And I never made the connection until we were going over this episode as well. Ace Rimmer very much is a Flashheart type. Someone I think brought that up at with Ed By, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who'd win in a fight or something.
Yeah. I'll just finish my introduction.
Oh, go on then.
Okay. Sexy, buccaneering, brave, the man that women want to be with and all men want to be. Flashheart and the other associated characters are Rik at his very sexiest, very most confident, and best. And that's what we're talking about today. So as you said there, Matt, yes, there's been comparisons between Flashheart and Ace Rimmer. In fact, I think it's a question I've heard asked before online. While we had Ed with us at the Rik Mayall Comedy Festival, someone came up and got him to sign a Red Dwarf poster and asked him that very question. And I think Ed said, Ed's belief is that Ace Rimmer would win because Ace Rimmer has access to superior weapons and technology. And I don't know, it's interesting to think about. I think one thing is for certain, that they would end up fucking each other. Sure.
Certain.
I don't know. Do you not think they just end up mutually masturbating about themselves rather than fucking each other?
I think they would end up oiling each other up and fucking each other.
Do you think that Flashheart is the kind of character that Richie would wish to be if he had access to a genie? He's like, if I could just go into a room and just all my jokes landed and everyone thought I was great, you know.
Well, Flashheart has confidence. Flashheart loves women, like Richie loves women. Flashheart loves women,
and they love him.
Yeah, Flashheart has the confidence to attract women, but Flashheart is also competent in many ways. As I said in the intro, he's one of the bravest, he's possibly the bravest character that Rik has played, but he's competent in that he can fly a plane, he can kill Germans, he can swing heroically through a door, smashing it to smithereens, he can shoot people, and he can bed the women. So he's probably the most, in some ways, successful character. He's not necessarily the smartest, although he has smarts. Sometimes people can insult him and he doesn't quite realise that insult's landing. But at the same time, he does have a certain amount of awareness and I would say not too much vulnerability.
It's the ego, isn't it? He absolutely exudes confidence. He knows he can get any woman. He thinks all men are jealous of him. He absolutely goes in. He's like, let's talk about me. He's completely oblivious to what anyone else thinks.
His first line as Flashheart sums him up. What is it?
It's me.
And that's Rik, isn't it? And I know that people have talked about, John Lloyd talked about when Rik played that role on set. Apparently he was quite quiet during rehearsals and quite nervous during rehearsals. But as soon as they were on set and Rik landed and wearing a wig with seashells that no one was expecting because they'd had the costume department made it, and he just smashes through on set. And I was watching.
No acting from the other guys, is it? They're all just stunned.
It's that rope he appears on as well, isn't it? And they call back to it in the fourth, Blackadder Goes Forth. He comes in through the door when he's smashing in to do the escape of the prison cell, and he comes in on a rope and he again says, "It's me." It's brilliant.
It's amazing. When you look at that episode of Blackadder, Bells, you think most sitcoms are, about 29 minutes long? Flashheart appears at 26 minutes and 30 seconds with a literal explosion. And as you say, saying, "It's me." I watched a reaction recently. I love watching reaction videos on YouTube. And I watched a reaction to Bells of two American girls called the Gallifrey Girls. They do a lot of sci-fi.
That's a lot of rhyming.
Yeah. And they're watching Blackadder at the moment. And I don't think they're really aware of who Rik Mayall is. But as soon as he comes in, they said one of them said something like, the energy in this episode has just shot up from middling to just through the roof. He's wearing a blonde wig that he had the costume department make for him. He's got his false moustache that's dangling off his lip once he's
only one side's come off as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the classic. It's stagecraft, isn't it? Like you never let on that's not what's meant to be happening, and he just carries on regardless. He's not sort of trying to fix it back on or anything. He's just in the character, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't he sort his own hair out when he's kissing Bob Something
I
like
think
it's,
he sort of readjusts his
Yeah.
wig, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does. And there's great little comedic moments, like someone insults him, so he pulls the knife out. Which to any
Yeah.
other character that would mean I'm going to stab you with a knife. Pulls it out, says,
Hold this.
gives it to someone, then pushes Percy through the very fragile stage door.
Yeah, and it doesn't smash open, but it kind of cracks it like it kind of looks more painful, like when you cut yourself on balsa wood. There's still
It's
splinters.
what's brilliant about those kind of naff 80s sets, isn't it? Where it kind of everything wobbles, but it is as if like everyone in that set is standing back, having to because of the sheer force coming out of Rik, isn't it? It's as if you can't look at anybody else in that scene unless you force yourself away from looking at Rik to see their reactions. It's so very clear that he's completely and utterly stealing the scene, and no one else could do anything about it, and they're just in awe watching him. It's sublime.
You mentioned the time he arrived and the time he left. So I had it down as literally 2 minutes 45 seconds worth.
There you go. Yeah.
Was that a question?
No. Well, and it's amazing that I know that his later Flashheart character, Lord Commander, the Squadron Leader, Flashheart, or
Captain, though, is it that they call him? Is he Captain Flash?
I think I'm not sure. Well, it's Lord Flashheart in the First World War. He's in that episode more. He's in it at the beginning,
It's
middle,
kind
and
of his
I think
whole
he's in like
episode,
4
isn't it?
scenes. And yeah, it's kind of his. He's the guest in that. He's the guest actor in that episode. But his impact is felt really from that episode of Bells, isn't it? And he's only
Absolutely.
in it for 2.5
It's very
minutes.
much a sequel, him coming back. Now, do you think the character would have been as popular if he'd just shown up in number 4, if that wasn't kind of a callback as such?
No, there had to be a sense of familiarity, wasn't there? Which was laid down in just 2.5 minutes in Bells.
Very different, of course, that Blackadder doesn't like Flashheart in 4, but is very much admiring.
He's his best mate in series 2, who's coming to be best man, and he crashes in and steals the bride,
and still doesn't not like him. It's good old Flash, it's still in awe of him.
I mean, yeah, I would say that Edmund isn't exactly happy that he runs off with Bob, but it's one of those where it's just like, well, that's Flash, and that's what he does. And I mean, I don't know whether you guys have looked at, who Lord Flashheart might have been inspired by in terms of characters over the years.
There's Lord Flashman, isn't
That's
there?
well, it's not Lord, it's just Sir Harry Paget Flashman, and he was the creation of the Thomas Brown School Days author Thomas Hughes, and this is obviously sort of in the 1800s, and it's very much a sort of womanizing bully. He's an anti-hero. He's bold. He's confident.
So this is pre-date Bond?
Yeah. Definitely. He's Harry Flashman, and he appears in a series of 12 books. And I mean, there's just similarities there when you look at, obviously it's a very different character in terms of like the setting in history, but that sort of heroic, bold, womanizing, it's all there in that character.
It's kind of a cliche on hero worship and toxic masculinity. We're going to use buzzwords and things.
Well, apparently the character was also inspired by a friend of John Lloyd and Richard Curtis.
Yeah.
So a real person.
A real person.
Who was called Flash, right? It was his nickname.
I believe so. So I thought, I wasn't sure whether to use this as an intro at the beginning or end on it, but I'll read this now. This is the day after Rik Mayall died. Jem Roberts, who wrote the book, The True History of Blackadder, wrote this for the BBC, and I thought this was kind of a good summation of Flashheart. Blackadder's endlessly superior childhood friend Flash was originally inspired by a similarly monikered friend of John Lloyd and Richard Curtis. But once Ben Elton brought in his real-life best man to fill that golden codpiece, the script became immaterial. The swaggering, lusty Flashheart was Mayall's creation. Director Mandy Fletcher recalled Mayall being quietly obedient through the week's rehearsal for the wedding scene on Blackadder 2's Bells episode, as Flash arrived and carried away Edmund's beloved Bob. It wasn't until the shells were threaded into Flash's golden mane, the moustache was just about stuck to his upper lip, and above all, the audience, the beloved punters, Mayall gleefully fed off throughout his whole life, were in place, that ball-bouncing bravado performance, now indelibly glued into the nation's psyche, was allowed to burst forth. There were further flashes of Flash, the unforgettable squadron leader of Blackadder goes forth, Robin Hood, and even the 18th century beer-swelling persona of the Bombardier, but it was in Mayall himself that the erotically charged charmer really lived on, just one aspect of a magical character that we all felt we know, or certainly wanted to. Mayall once told The Guardian that his interaction with his audience was very sexual. You mass them together and sense what they want, and you give it to them just before they ask for it. Just like Flashheart, woofing off into the history books with a final unforgettable explosion, now Rik has left us all eternally wanting more.
So, like
so true,
Genghis Khan has fathered hundreds and thousands of people
Yeah.
according to history and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's what Flash has done, and therefore that's why he's somehow Robin Hood.
Mm.
You know, that despite losing the name, he's sired lots of bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's like, last person I called darling was pregnant 30 seconds later. If you want to talk about Flash as a character, he's obviously a lot more sort of two-dimensional than certain other characters of Rik, right? He is not one note by any stretch. I'm not trying to say that, but he is absolutely sort of off the pages of a sort of comic book kind of hero, isn't he? He's a womanizer, and he is a bully, really, if you want for a better word, really. But he's, he commands the room, and everyone else kind of falls back, right? But he and in that way, you couldn't imagine Flash in the real world at all whatsoever. Some of the Blackadder characters also are similar, but I think Flash is just absolutely, completely an exaggeration. He's not a real person, which is why we all like. You just in awe of this not quite real hero that's blasting onto the screen, or the idea that he's like flying through the skies and like no one's touching him, even though everyone else is dead within 20 minutes.
He's like a Superman
He's
for
a
the
myth.
people to look up to and stuff. He's kind of like who Melchi would say he was like when he was younger, like his bravado, again, is this overcompensating for the bleak shitness of the war? And it's like, I've got to be like this to get everyone else out of the
First
rough.
World War, and I'm sure any war, but particularly in the First World War, they would actually have these tales so that you would buoy up the men. There'd be this morale that would be lifted by the idea of these heroes that were actually out there fighting for them, and that everything's okay because this is okay. We've got someone on our side, and we're going to win this, lads. And someone like Flash embodies that message completely, doesn't he? And that they obviously go over. It's like all the Tommies are buying. When Baldrick's like, my grandmother smoked herself to death, buying the cigarette cards with him on this heroic thing of like collecting the idea of a hero.
In the world of Blackadder Goes Forth, he is representative of the heroic British pilot, isn't he? The gentleman pilot who's a lord and who goes out and kills the enemy. I think you're right when you say that he's kind of 2D in terms of his character. As even Rik described Flashheart as just pure sex.
Yes,
he talked about when once he got the uniform and he put it all on, he felt sexy.
I love that coat. Was it about the coat in particular? I think about that leather coat. He's sort of like, I'm just a pure penis. I seem to remember that from an interview he did. Where he's like, I'm just a penis. I'm just a human penis.
He said he's just pure sex. When I'm in the costume, I am a living penis.
That's it. Yeah.
When I got to hang out with Rik on a film set, I let it be known that I'm a huge fan of his, and he just made time to come and hang out with me in between some of the takes and stuff. And I noticed in Blackadder Goes Forth, when he gets into the trenches, he whacks Edmund, goes on the floor. But then when he gives him the second punch, Rowan goes the wrong way when he punches him. And I thought I'd tell Rik this. He'll love that. He'll find that really funny. And he's like, no, I don't. No, he doesn't. I take his jaw off. I'm like, no, he goes the wrong way. He said, no, that's not true. Showed it to him. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Fuck. And I was like, oh, that really fell flat. I've just put him in a bad mood.
Was he annoyed at Rowan for not falling
he was.
the right way?
Yeah, he was. And then he never spoke to Rowan ever again.
Wouldn't it be the director that's at fault there?
Yeah, well, doing it live.
We're going on a tangent here, but anyway, back to Flash.
Oh no, sorry. When I said we got to move on, I was being the director of the show. Go, no, fuck it. Like, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Audience, you wouldn't get the same reaction, I suppose. It's quick enough. It's fine, But it's just noticing how good Rik and Aid normally are. I noticed.
It's good you mention actually him interacting with Rowan, because I saw an interview where Rik Mayall was talking about his time doing Blackadder, and he kind of talked about the two different styles of him and Rowan. So before he did the show, he said, well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to steal it, and I'll only do it if I can get more laughs than everyone else. But he said, actually, I can come in and I can be very shouty and I can be all like, look at me, and I can hit Rowan. And Rowan has to be quite quiet, and he only gets to do 2 words and maybe a raise of the eyebrow. But he was very complimentary about Rowan. He was like saying how he's like a different kind of funny, but
get the punchlines
as
really,
good as
wouldn't
each
he?
other.
I think.
And then he said, and this was a big compliment for Rowan. He's like, I do all my stuff and I like pick Bobby up and I sweep off out, and it just goes to Rowan and he just says git, and that nails it. And he's being so nice about Rowan there as well, Well,
it's true. Rowan's doing exactly like we've said about Aid. Like Rowan is doing exactly what he needs to do for his character to work, and for Rik's character to shine, and for all of his amazing energy to land in the way that it needs to, because it is that Rowan is always, certainly in Blackadder Goes Forth, Private Plane, the name of the episode, he is undercutting all of the bravado and the I'm a human sex machine sort of stuff from Lord Flash. He's sort of I'm just going to go outside and be sick into a bucket. Like he's always that can be arranged about George being I've got to die right here because I'm happy. And all of it's undercutting it, and that you're getting laughs on every single line and every single back and forth, and you couldn't have just pure energy and get those laughs throughout.
The episode is so dense with laughter, isn't it? I have to say, when you watch all of Blackadder Goes Forth, I mean, it's a really funny series, and each episode gets good laughs. But that episode, if there was a laughometer, that's definitely the one.
Snap off the fucking handle, wouldn't
yeah, it has such a good response. In some scenes, I think I've talked about this in one of our other episodes, there's a particular laugh that you can like when Rik says, the last person I called darling was pregnant 20 seconds later, you can hear someone like cackling longer than everyone else. Rik gets several rounds of applause as well in that episode, which doesn't often happen in a sitcom.
The headbutt to darling gets a huge reaction as well.
That is topped by Melchi, which is one of my favourite lines in the entire Blackadder series, where like Melchi comes in and obviously he's passed out, isn't he? Because he's been headbutted by Flash. But he just like, don't slouch, darling. And that is so brilliant. Like they have thought of every single laugh along the way in Blackadder. It is absolutely brilliant, that episode.
And with that, let's have a quick word from our sponsors.
War one, let's celebrate with a pint of me! Huzzah!
There is nothing like a pint of Bombardier. English, ever reliable, and damn tasty. A bit like me.
Bang on!
Completely overlooked another huge highlight in this episode.
With this,
Aid.
The casting of Aid.
Yeah, we're going to get to Aid.
Following so many of our favourite comedy actors appearing in other series of Blackadder. You've got Roger Sloman in Series 1. Lee Corns crops up in not just in Series 3, but in Series 4 as well. Nigel Planer in Series 3. Fry and Laurie cropping up through it. And now Chris Barry as well. And now finally, after all this time, after several appearances of Rik through the series, Aid doesn't just appear in Blackadder, but it's in the same episode as Rik. It's in a scene opposite Rik where they get to face off with each other.
Like his arch enemy, right?
Yeah, where they're arch enemies and where Rik gets to kill him.
Yes, and it's very much like Indiana Jones, isn't it? With the sword fight bit, and then he just shoots him with no honour. But that's clever. That's like
it's such a tension-raising scene, isn't it? Because you've already had Aid doing his sort of, pontificating as the German and sort of talking about the vicious sense of humour and all that, and he's got all of his lines out, and then he's sort of like doing this big, almost like when you've got the Bond villain leading up to when they're going to finally, have their face-off, and that's the brilliant, the comic timing of when Flash just literally cuts him off mid-sentence by shooting him.
He's doing a variation on the. We are not so different after all, you and I. Speech, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty much that. It's just like, after all these years.
Two questions about Flash. The first one's obviously no. If anyone else played Flashheart, would it be any good? No.
Well, I mean,
I won't
but
hear it.
listen, the question you asked there was if anyone else played it, would it be any good? Right? Would it be any good if anybody else had been given those lines and they came in and performed Flash? Like, I don't know who might have, in any way topped, no one would have topped Rik, but someone could have delivered those lines for sure. Someone else could have been cast.
I like that question because it puts me in mind of something I was wondering about Blackadder, in that Flash appeared in the second series, right? And he appears in the fourth series. There's no appearance of him or a character like that in the third. I think Rik could have played Lord Wellington. When he comes in and he's quite sort of violent, is there any possibility that they wrote that originally thinking it would be a kind of Rik Flash kind of role, and he couldn't do it, and they went, we'll get Stephen.
I've looked online for this.
Go on.
There is no evidence that was the case. Okay. Now, apparently, Rik and Ben Elton had kind of fallen out at this stage.
Oh, really?
Because of the flop of Cat Flap.
Okay.
So that was maybe a reason why he's not in the third series.
Did they actually fall out?
No, it's not in a proper one, but I think just they were a little bit tense and they weren't quite as chummy.
Working on other things. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
A historical fit of Flashheart in the third series where things are a bit more refined and honour is such an important part. I think someone being that much of a show-off may not have gelled. I don't know. Maybe that would have stood out and why it'd have been funny.
Or maybe Flashheart wouldn't have fitted in that series because that sort of Flash ostentatiousness is a bit too similar to what George was in that series. He was quite sort of
Yeah, I think you're
everyone
right.
look at me, wasn't he?
I mean, I think you could get in someone who's ostentatious in that era, but I think in two there's the swashbuckling kind of thing. It goes back to the Robin Hood thing, isn't it? It's that sort of heroic coming in, swashbuckling, whatever. Whereas I think in series 3 they do have some quite big and bold characters, of course they do, but there isn't that sort of come in and they're slicing everyone down and doing like I don't know, it's not quite as murderous somehow, or like the laughs aren't as sort of out there in series 3 of Blackadder because of the era that it's in with Mad King George. And as you say, Hugh Laurie is the one who shines really in series 3. And it is interesting though, Matt, to think, could anyone else have done it? Yes, of course they could. And you're right, no is the answer, that they couldn't have done it as well as Rik. But I think there could have been someone who would have done it and it would still be enjoyable because Flash is such an amazing character. I mean, it feels like it was Rik's creation, like you said before, Paul. It was sort of, he was written on the page, right? And he must have been this kind of bold character.
Yeah, well, no one
But
else was ever going to play him, right?
But it's Rik that brought him completely to life and turned him into what he is on that in those 2 minutes 45 seconds, and then and obviously they brought him back in the 4th. But it's actually Rik who created him, and that's where actors bring something to their role, don't they? Until you see an actor do something, you don't actually know who the character is a lot of the time until they start speaking the words.
It's another hypothetical then. If Rik was still with us and Flashheart was a character that came out today, how do you think that would land with modern audiences?
You know what? I think it would be skirting some boundaries of acceptability. I rewatched a lot of the Bombardier adverts for this because I feel like the character is an extension of Flashheart. And a lot of those relied on sort of a lot of sexual stuff, a lot of hints of women are there as kind of sexual playthings. It was done, comedically, obviously.
But don't you think, because the beauty of Blackadder, of course, is the historical setting, right? So I would, putting on the sort of hat of, but I think you could because of the historical setting. And if it was done with the same joie de vivre as Rik did whenever he did play those characters, I think you're right. I think there would be critics now that would absolutely say this is outrageous. You can't have this in the world we live in, and it's offensive. But then I think there's a lot of this question that comes up. It's like, oh, you can't do this nowadays. I think maybe it wouldn't be commissioned. Maybe they'd be toning down the lines. Maybe there'd be a little bit of watering down of certain things. You wouldn't necessarily have she's kissing him all over while he's talking, isn't she?
Like,
in the 4th,
just can't stop.
It's odd, but I think you could still write that sort of thing now, and
as long as it's set in another.
If the
time.
context is there and the intent behind it isn't, like, there's no insinuation that Flashheart's ever done anything that's not consensual. Women are throwing themselves at him because he is this sex god.
What about in the series 5? It didn't happen with Bald Rik, of this, where it was going to be a band sort of thing.
60s,
right?
I
think Flashheart would have fit right in that.
He would have been all about free
some
love,
sort of manager or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's. I don't know though, because I think it's that historical element to him that makes him that hero.
Well, speaking of historical element, Flashheart kind of came back for Blackadder Back and Forth, which was a short film that was originally made for the Millennium Dome. Remember that? We now know it as the O2. Much better name was Millennium Dome.
The best part of the O2, the Millennium Dome bit was that.
He played Robin Hood, and the character was called Robin Hood, but it's widely seen as a variant of Flashheart. He's swinging a sword, he's yelling "woof," he's calling his dick an enormous weapon, saying how I love giving it to the poor. But this Flash is a bit more vulnerable than the other ones. He gets bested by Blackadder, who gets his own men to turn on him. And there's a bit of a flash of a typical kind of Rik character, the kind of face that you'd saw in the Nintendo adverts when someone's been caught out in a lie or something, when he desperately tries to weasel his way out.
Was it shoot him, men? I'm great and he's not.
That's it, yeah. So if that one serves as, he's only in it briefly. The Robin Hood bit is quite quick. And it's nice to see Flashheart return again, but it's a very brief return for him in something that in the short episode that was made for the Return of the Millennium. And then when I rewatched it, I noticed there was a lot of, again, we talk about things that wouldn't fly today, a lot of gay jokes, like, Rik's like saying, Will Scarlet's a big old puff. And then when they travel back to the present, Blackadder hints that he copped off with Maid Marian, and then Baldrick apparently copped off with Will Scarlet. But basically the joke is that he's rubbing his bum, and it's like, oh, so he's been gay raped. Okay. That is the joke.
And that probably wouldn't get past commissioners now, and quite rightly, really. I mean, I have to say, when you watch it's brilliant, and I'm not trying to say that I don't enjoy it, but when he does say "what a puff" after shooting Aid in the, it is brilliant. But you do think now, potentially they would think of a
Another
cleverer
word,
thing.
Yeah, I guess so. What a
Because-
sissy, what a wimp, what a
Because
what a
again,
girl.
if you use the era as the reason for Flash in that moment, the most, the biggest insult you can give is that, unfortunately, not okay now, of course, wasn't okay then, but that was the attitude, right? And to call someone that would be the big insult, right? So that's why it works. And it's
sort of like playground humour, isn't it?
yes.
One thing that we really briefly want to go over, can't help mention Blackadder, Rik special without Mad Gerald. Fucking scene stealer of season 1. He has 2 minutes 27 seconds, which is actually not that much less than Flashheart, but he's seen much smaller of a character.
Yeah, but series 1 is not as remembered, is it?
But that's the best bit in series 1, as far as I'm concerned.
So for context, Mad Gerald is a prisoner that Edmund encounters when he himself is thrown in a dungeon by his mortal enemy. Mad Gerald is wild-haired, he's got straw in his hair, completely rotten teeth to the point of giving him a lisp, boils on his face, and he's dressed in rags. And he's a man who can laugh solid for 12 months.
Yeah. Great, and then remembers what made him laugh. Oh, yeah, he says.
Yeah, it's excellent. I mean, it's, again, like, if you talk about memorable characters of Rik, I feel like, as you say, in series 1 of Blackadder, he's one of the most memorable characters, but it's not the most memorable
He's
Rik
credited
character.
as himself, not as Rik Mayall.
Of course, we talked about on the Kevin Turvey podcast, which is that he wanted to disappear into his role. So in those early days, he didn't want the credit, which is, it's fascinating, really, that he was quite happy to not take the credit. When you actually, I mean, Paul Jackson said the reason they wanted to do Boom Boom Out Go the Lights was to get an equity card.
Oh, yeah.
So interesting that by, what is it, 1983 that they did Blackadder 1?
I think it was 83, yeah.
So he, obviously he was actually more just about, well, let's do the roles and let's disappear rather than take that glory.
Mad Gerald, very funny, and for me, his best line is the one you hear. He says off
Me
camera,
too.
as Blackadder has escaped thanks to Mr. Key, made by Gerald
His own
from his own
teeth.
teeth. As Blackadder runs up the steps, what does Mad Gerald yell?
Close the bloody door!
Yeah, and he's been there 20 years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just a complete Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. Here's something to consider about Flash. Is this bravado something he's putting on? Is he actually a happy person, or is it all a show? I think he's the kind of person that would be the life of the party and then commit suicide one day. And then you're like, oh my God, I never saw, like a Robin Williams type without getting a bit.
He's while he's the war hero, he's absolutely literally riding high in his glory and his plane and everything. But it's either that he'd go out in a blaze of glory, right? Or, as you say, once the war's over, where do those forgotten heroes go? What's he going to do with himself? He's not going to go and work, behind a desk job, is he, Flash? So, but he'll probably have died of gonorrhea. Right?
That's how he'd want to go.
VD, something that's more likely for Flash.
Possibly in battle, but if he's anything like the Bombardier character who literally runs into battle and heads the cannonballs back to the French,
well, that's Flash.
Then he's never going to die.
Flash comes across as bulletproof, doesn't
Yeah.
he? He's absolutely bulletproof, and that is the character, and that's why he's not real, of course. But I just think he's completely untouchable, apart from for the women.
Do you think Richie would get on with Flashheart?
Oh no, I think Flashheart would bully.
He'd punch him out within a moment.
Yeah, you're right. He'd punch him, and that would be the whole extent of their interaction.
Or shoot him. He'd actually kill him.
But
right?
I think this is the first character we've discussed alongside on their podcast that Richie would look up to and think, "Wow, who's this guy?" But
yeah, we'll get to it. But obviously, I think the New Statesman as well would be one, Alan Bastard. But yeah, I think in terms of what we've done so far, Richie would definitely previously have looked down on any of other Rik's characters.
I feel like it's when Jonathan made that wish in Buffy and became the most popular man in the world. That's what Flashheart is to Richie.
Okay. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? How they both have Rik Mayall's face, and yet he could be so good looking and so ugly.
Ruby Wax went over this in an interview. Always plays such ugly characters despite being such a lovely, handsome man.
That's comedy for you, though, isn't it? You've got to be able to be that chameleon and be prepared to look crap.
And the image of him as Flash in Blackadder Goes Forth is probably one of his most enduring and iconic images, isn't it? It's that one of him with the blonde wig, the tash.
He is raw sex.
He is a living penis. Right, well, that was all the characters that was Flashheart, Mad Gerald, Bombardier, and other associated characters by
we
Rik.
could talk about Blackadder in much more extensive,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we just haven't got, we're concentrating on Rik. I'm sure loads of people are like, oh, talk about that bit in Blackadder. We love Blackadder, but we're here to talk about Rik's characters, aren't we? So,
And now, speaking of those characters, we're going to do a quiz. It's time for a quiz.
hey.
So we don't have fart buzzers because we're not talking about bottom. So we're going to take a word or phrase associated with Flashheart or Mad Gerald. Ange, what would you like your word or phrase to be?
It's got to be woof.
Woof. Excellent. Matt, what's yours?
Mr. K.
Excellent. Are you going to keep the lisp?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, you're making a run for your own back there, I think. All right, here we go. 10 questions, and whoever scores the highest will win. Here we go. Question 1. What was the first word Rik Mayall ever said in Blackadder?
Mr. K.
Matt?
Amen.
Correct. It's Amen.
Amen, I said.
As Mad Gerald.
Yeah.
2. Who was Mad Gerald's best friend?
Mr. K. It's Mr. Rat.
That's correct. It was Mr. Rat in the cell with him. Okay, question 3.
These aren't all on Mad Gerald, are they? Because I have to say,
we're moving on now.
he's my Kevin Turvey.
Right.
Right, carry on.
In Bells, Flashheart is introduced by Percy as the best of 4 things in all the kingdom. What are the 4 things?
Mr. K, you're going to take a guess.
Go on.
Shagging? No?
No.
Right,
So,
well.
hang on, repeat the question, please.
In Bells, you're going to take some umbrage with the wording of the question
Well,
now,
I'm
aren't you?
I'm trying to get in.
While you play for time and
No,
so
I'm trying to get into what it is.
So he's
In
not in the
Bells,
scene, right? And he's
Right, no,
describing him.
Lord Percy, by way of verbal introduction, not when Flash is in the room,
Yeah.
when he's talking about him, describes him as the best at 4 things in the kingdom, in all the kingdom. What are those 4 things?
No.
Fighting. Fighting. It's got to be shagging, isn't it?
I said
Is
shagging.
it not
No.
shagging?
I will tell you, he's the best sword, the best shot,
Fuck, of
the best sailor,
course.
and the best kisser in all the kingdom.
That's
Okay,
it, kisser.
kisser.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. It's much more nice because it's Percy.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
This one, all right, don't be mad at me, but whoever gets the nearest on this one wins, okay? How much is a used production script of Blackadder episode Bells currently on eBay for?
Woof.
Go on.
400 quid.
Mr. K. £399.
Oh, the point goes to Angela. £822. If you've got 822 quid, you can get a production used copy of the script.
Have you bought it?
No. If it had belonged to Rik, I might have done, but no. Right, question 5. Right, I think at the moment we're on 2 to Matt, 1 to Ange. Question 5. When Lord Flashheart punches Captain Blackadder, is it with his left or his right hand?
Ooh, woof.
Ange.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Because I wanted to go left because Rick's left-handed,
See,
and I was thinking of the bit.
If only someone had sat down with Rik and analysed that particular scene, you know. And,
Well,
I
Matt
wanted to let her...
didn't go in.
Okay, it's still 2-1 to Matt. Question 6. In Blackadder Goes Forth, how many girls does Flash say will kill themselves if word gets out he's dead?
Mr. K. Is it something like 200?
It's not.
It's more than
Ange,
that.
Ange, I'll throw it over to Ange if you want to try.
Oh, fuck, I watched this last night.
Is it all the women in
10,000?
Sorry, it's 500.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, it's still 2-1. All right, question 7. What is the name of the man who cleans out the public toilets in Aberdeen, according to Blackadder, when he's talking to
Mr.
Flash?
K. Is it Mr. Ploppy?
I'm not going to give you that.
Oh.
Ange?
Oh, it's something McPlop.
It is something McPlop. We jock poo pong McPlop.
Yeah, okay.
All right, still 2-1. Question 8. What happened to the last person Flashheart called
Mr.
Darling?
K. Pregnant 40 seconds later?
Nah,
30
20
seconds?
seconds.
20 seconds.
20
okay.
seconds, yeah.
Right,
I
wouldn't give
said
that
it
to me.
earlier on the
Yeah,
podcast.
give that to
It's
Ange.
fine.
All right.
It's fine.
I can give it to Ange. That'll make it 2-all.
Oh, go on. That makes it more
Okay,
exciting.
2-all. Okay. In Blackadder Back and Forth, Rik Mayall played Robin Hood or Flashheart. Who was his maid Marion?
Mr. K. It's fucking hell. K. It's got a K in her name, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
got something in her
fucking hell,
name.
I can't remember. I know her face. It's
Okay.
Can I steal?
I think we're going
It's
to throw
Kate
it over.
Moss.
Okay, and that's a point. That's a point to
Yeah.
Ange. So I think that's 3-2 to Ange now. Yeah. All right, and
Last question.
finally, okay.
There is a K in it.
Neither of you are going to get this. Okay. What is the Bombardier character's actual name?
Ooh. Do you know, at some point I'll look this up, but I can't remember.
He's referred to in one of the adverts as Bedford.
Bedford Bombardier.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
So there we go. That's 3.
Is that it?
3 to Ange. Yep, that's 3 to Ange, 2 to
3-2.
Matt. Ange, you win. Congratulations.
Oh, fantastic.
There are
Well
no
done.
prizes for you apart from a sense of smugness.
Woof, woof.
Right, well, that's it. Thank you very much for joining us on our episode all about Flashheart, Mad Gerald, Bombardier, and Robin Hood, all played by Rik Mayall.
Blackadder universe. What a wonderful one it is.
Yeah,
They're
it's
all
brilliant.
kind of connected, aren't they? They are because of the Christmas episode. They
Yeah.
reveal
I mean, the
there's a-
Bombardier's an advert, isn't it? But I think you've got to say they've borrowed strongly from the from Rik's creation. But yes, really good quiz. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much. Well, you can follow us on the socials at Talking Bottom. We're on all the usual ones, and of course we're on YouTube now as well. We've got a YouTube channel, so follow us there. You can listen to the podcast there, and we hope you join us next week for our next episode about another Rik character.
Who's it going to be? Can you guess?
Oh, you'll find out then.